Hey there, this is Chad from Zombie Fight Shark, and today we are going to be discussing the Subtractor. This is a primer of the Subtractor. This is the first time I turned it on, and how do I make this thing make noise, and how can I mess with it very quickly to change some of the sounds. So we will be going in depth. This is a multi-part series. This is only part one. Right now I have up the Subtractor on the screen, and as you can see, this is just the initiated patch, the init patch, which is just fine. You know, it's not amazing. So let's talk about the pieces. And so right now, we're just going to go to the oscillator. We're just going to talk about the two oscillators here, because you can play with this and get some really interesting sounds just from jump without having to do barely anything at all. So number one, let's point out that when you first, if you're using this initiating patch and you haven't changed it, then it's going to just have one of the oscillators activated. So we're going to activate the second one. Another thing about this particular patch is that the filter frequency is down. So there's a big difference when you sweep that frequency up to where it starts at. So just something to kind of remind yourself if you're going to keep this in a patch as opposed to making your own starter patch when it launches, because you can change that preset, then that's something that I usually grab that and push it up first thing. All right, so let's talk about this oscillator. I'm not going to go into what an oscillator is and what it does and all this stuff. There's plenty of other videos for that. We're just going to talk about how this works in Subtractor. First, let's talk about this phase knob. What is the phase knob? So it's phasing these waveforms in and out. Right now, they're perfectly aligned with each other. And so if you were looking at it, it would be two sawtooth up, down, and they'd be perfectly aligned. And then as you move this, you're moving one of them out of phase. And right now, it's not going to have any effect because of the phase mode right here. This 0 is no phase modification. But this X, that's phase multiplier. You're multiplying this phase, the phase of this wave times the phase of this wave. This is subtraction. You're subtracting the phase of this wave against the phase of this wave. So let's just see what they do. Hold the button. We'll keep our phase right there, differential in the middle. Okay, so immediately change the timbre of the sound. Then if we subtract it, slightly softer version of it. So now let's change this one. Now we're subtracting this one, we're multiplying this one. So you get some very different sounds just by playing with this one little thing. So, and it's worth mentioning that, okay, you're multiplying this one. Now, when you play with your phase mod knobs, you're starting to get some effect out of those. So, quick and easy thing that you can have a little impact on your sound with. We're going to go with one's minus. We'll make the other one to multiply, and then we'll set them slightly off center. Next part, these waveforms. So defaults to sawtooth, so you kind of got all your harmonic frequencies, less noise. So if you go through them, you know, it shows you the first few. You got a square, you got a triangle, you got a sine, and then you got 5, and then you got 6 and 7 and so forth, and all the way up to 32. And at that point, these other ones, they all have their own unique shapes. Unfortunately, they don't show you the shapes, so you sort of just have to know, oh, I like the sound of number 8 or number 13 or number 29, and so forth. But scrolling through these can drastically change the sound as well. So we haven't done very much there, but all we did was scroll through sounds, played with the phase knobs here, and then we've got a totally different sound now. All right, so your semitones, where it's as if you were moving up the keyboard. So you're going up in half steps right here up the keyboard. So you're starting on C and so forth. So if you wanted to say make each note be a fifth, you go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you're fifth up the keyboard. And now my two notes are half of a chord. So if you wanted it to make a minor interval, all right, now it's minor, or major, or fourth, etc. So that's another fun one that a lot of people don't play with very much. So don't forget about it. And then one of the most important ones here, your synths. Because it's all well and good when everything's perfectly in tune, but to give the sound more body, if you actually get it out of tune, then it actually slowly creates a chorus effect because it's messing with the phase even more. And on top of that, changing your harmonics and doing a little bit more interesting stuff. Can't be understated how important it is to just adjust the synths a little bit and get a little bit more body out of the sound. So next little knob here, just in the oscillator section, FM. This one, so frequency modulation is FM, and less is more. This very quickly turns into noise. If you hold down Shift and click, then you can move this knob in intervals of 1, and instead of in intervals of 2, I think is what it defaults to. So you can do really fine adjustments. If you don't have it, your controller keyboard synced to that knob, if you're using a computer, let's just move it up to 12. It doesn't seem like that would do much. So still pretty musical there, but it very quickly starts to go towards noise. And all the way up, it's like noise with an extra white noise added to it. So if you want to add just a little character, just tweak that FM knob just a little bit. Don't go crazy, and you can add some sweet character to it. Again, we haven't touched anything else over here other than putting that filter up. So mix knob, this one's pretty important, especially when you start playing with all of your other pieces of this. And so all you're doing is mixing between oscillator 1 and oscillator 2, so you can make one of them dominant over in the sound. So here, oscillator 2 is kind of the cleaner sound. So if we wanted a little bit more of a cleaner sound, just with a hint of that FM dissonance, then I'm going to turn the mix over here just a little bit. And so simple enough, but that actually is a really powerful little knob that it's easy to forget about once you get into twisting and all these other little knobs and seeing what they do. A couple of buttons here. Ring modulator button. So I'm not going to go into what a ring modulator is and does. Just you can look that up yourself. But another really powerful little button. So here's what it sounds like now. And again, we have changed the character drastically just by hitting one button. Last couple things, your keyboard tracking here. So if you're making drum sounds with Subtractor, which is one of my favorite things to do, then this turns off the keyboard tracking. So it's just going to be one note. So your keyboard no longer, there's no scale to it. And if you want to make drones or you love making weird ambient noise stuff, turn off one of them, turn the other one on, and again, one of my favorite things to do. And with that ring modulator on, it's modulating the pitch of these two different waves And since one of them's a drone and one of them is actually tracking the keyboard, you get all kinds of interesting stuff happening in regards to your wave shapes. And last part of your oscillator is the noise oscillator. So technically this is another oscillator. And yeah, it's noise. So we'll reset this back to the initial. Now let's turn on the noise. All right, come on, feel the noise. There we go. And pretty simple here. Your decay knob, just what it sounds like. It's the attack. So if it's all the way down, the decay, that you basically almost have nothing in regards to the noise. See there, it's just a little attack. Slightly longer and it fades off. It has its own attack. If it's all the way up, then it follows your amp envelope here. Color, pretty simple. So it's sweeping the frequency there from high to low, and just cutting frequencies as we saw. And then level. Okay, so there is the noise, decay, color, level. Simple enough. And your oscillators, you got all this stuff to play with without even touching any of your envelopes, filters, velocity, LFO, etc. So that's going to be it for the primer. And when we pick up next, we will be covering filters, these two little filters here, and the madness that goes with it. Thanks for listening. See you next time.